Hello friends, this is Shefali Rahul Gutke, currently working as an assistant professor in civil engineering department at Tulsi Ramji Gaikwad Patil College of Engineering and Technology, accredited with NAC A+ grade. To- So I welcome you all to Geotechnical Engineering 1 lecture. In today's lecture, we will going to talk about the index properties of a soil. So, the index properties of a soil is nothing but the property of a soil which are used in the identification and the classification of a soil. The index properties are sometimes divided into the two categories. First one is the property of individual particles, and the second one is the property of a soil mass, also known as aggregate properties. The properties of individual particles can be determined from a remolded, or we can say that the disturbed sample, whereas the index properties or the aggregate properties should be determined from the undisturbed sample. These are the various index properties of a soil: water content, specific gravity, in situ density, particle size, consistency, and relative density. First, we will going to talk about the water content. So, the water content is nothing but it is the ratio of weight of a water to the weight of a soil solids. These are the methods which we will going to discuss. The first one is sand bath method, second one is alcohol method, third one is oven drying method, fourth one is calcium carbide method, and the last one is radiation method. So, the sand bath method, basically, this is a field method for the determination of a water content. This method is very rapid method, but not accurate. As compared to oven drying method, this method is not accurate. In this method, first we put the container with a soil on a sand bath, which is heated over a kerosene stove. So the soil gets become dry within half to 1 hour. So the water content can be determined as M2 minus M3 divided by M3 minus M1 into 100, where the M1 is nothing but the mass of a empty container, M2 is nothing but mass of a container plus wet soil, M3 is nothing but mass of a container plus dry soil. Dry soil which is heated over the kerosene stove. Okay. So basically the disadvantage of the sand bath method are cannot be used if the soil contains the large proportion of a clay, organic matter, or gypsum, because the organic matter requires the controller over the temperature, and here in sand bath method there is no control over the temperature because we are using kerosene stove. And last but not the least, this method is not accurate. Next method is alcohol method. The soil sample is taken in evaporating dish. Then the sample is then mixed with methylated spirit. The quantity of methylated spirit required is 1 millimeter for every gram of a soil. The methylated spirit is then ignited. The mixture is then stirred with spatula. After the methylated spirit has burnt away completely, the dish is allowed to be cooled and the mass of a dry soil is obtained. The disadvantages of this method is it cannot be used if the soil contains the large proportion of a clay or organic matter. The methylated spirit is volatile in nature, so the extra care is required. Also, this method is not accurate. Next method is oven drying method. In oven drying method, these are the various equipments which we will going to use. First one is container, second is desiccator, third one is controlled oven, Fourth one is weighing balance with accuracy of 0.01 gram. So the procedure of own drying method is, first we clean the container, we dried it and weight it with the lid as given as M1. Then after, take the required quantity of the wet soil specimen in the container and weight it with the lid, give it as M2. Then place the container with its lid removed in the oven till its weight become constant. Place it into the container for 24 hours, maintaining the temperature 110 degrees Celsius. After that, when the soil has dried, remove the container from the oven using the tongs. Okay, then find the weight as M3 of the container with the lid and the dry soil sample. Removing the soil from the oven drying, we will place it into the desiccator so that it becomes cool down or stable. So the water content again, W will be M2 minus M3 divided by M3 minus M1, where M1 is nothing but mass of an empty container, M2 is mass of a container plus wet soil, and M3 is nothing but mass of a container plus dry soil. Fourth method is calcium carbide method. This is a very quick method. It requires 5 to 7 minutes. This method of determination of water content makes the use of a fact that when the water reacts with calcium carbide, acetylene gas is produced. Procedure. The wet sample is placed in a sealed container containing the calcium carbide. The test is required about 6 gram of a soil. The pressure of a acetylene which is produced act on the diaphragm of the moisture tester. Then the quantity of a gas is indicated on a pressure gauge. From the calibrated scale of a pressure gauge, the water content will be determined. Fifth method is radiation method. In radiation method, the radioactive isotopes are used in the determination of a water content. A device which is containing a radioactive isotopes material such as a cobalt-60 is placed in a capsule which is lowered in a steel casing. The steel casing has an opening from where rays come out. Another casing consists of a detector which is placed in an opening. The neutrons are emitted from the radioactive material. The hydrogen atoms in water causes the scattering of a neutrons. As the neutron strikes with the hydrogen atoms, they loses the energy. The loss of energy which is released is proportional to the water content. In radiation method, the two steel casings are lowered in the ground. In first casing, the capsule is placed, and in the second casing, the detector is placed. In first casing, the neutrons are emitted from this cobalt-60. After that, the neutrons react with the hydrogen atoms and it loses its energy. The loss of a energy of a neutron ultimately used for finding out the water content of a soil. Next is specific gravity determination. This is the next index property of a soil. Specific gravity is nothing but it is the ratio of unit weight of a soil solids to that of a water. The specific gravity of a soil is frequently required for the computation of a several soil properties such as void ratios, the degree of saturation, unit weight of a solids, or the fine soil particle size, etc. The methods which are generally used for the determination of specific gravity are pycnometer bottle method, density bottle method, measuring flask method, gas jar method, and shrinkage limit method. In our syllabus, we will going to discuss about pycnometer bottle method. So, the pycnometer bottle method, the procedure of pycnometer is as follows. First, we clean and dry the pycnometer. These are the pycnometers. Okay. First, we will clean and dry the pygnometer. We find its mass with cap as W1. Then place about 200 gram of oven dried soil which is passing through 4.75 mm sieves. Determine the mass of a pygnometer with dry soil as W2. Add the sufficient amount of a de-aired water to the soil in the pygnometer. Thoroughly mix it and determine the mass of a pygnometer with the soil and water as W3. Empty the pygnometer, clean it and wipe it dry. Then again fill the pygnometer with the distilled water and find its mass as W4. Now lastly, calculate the specific gravity of a soil solids as under. Specific gravity is nothing but W2 minus W1 divided by W2 minus W1 minus W3 minus W4. In, in this manner, we can calculate the specific gravity with the help of pygnometer bottle method. Next is dry density determination by core cutter method. We will find the dry density with the help of core cutter method. The procedure are as follows. First, we measure the inside dimension of the core cutter, then determining the empty weight of a core cutter as W1, then leave the surface about 300 mm square in area. This is core cutter. The ring here which is shown is dolly. This is rammer. So we place the dolly over the top of a core cutter and we place the core cutter into the soil using the rammer like this. After that, stop the process of a pressing when about 15 mm of the dolly protrudes above the soil surface like this. After that, remove the surrounding soil, the core cutter and take out the core cutter. Remove the dolly, trim the top and the bottom surface of the core cutter carefully using a straight edge. Then weight the core cutter which is filled with the soil as W2. Remove the core of the soil from the cutter and determine the water content. So the bulk density will be M2 minus M1 divided by V. After that, once we get the bulk density, we can find the dry density of a soil. Dry density is nothing but bulk density divided by 1 plus water content. Here, this is M1 is nothing but weight of a empty core cutter and M2 is nothing but weight of a core cutter plus soil sample. Okay. Dry density is nothing but it is the ratio of weight of a oven dry soil to the volume of a soil. The dry density is used basically for the stability analysis, bearing capacity and the degree of compaction of the soil. Next method is sand replacement method. Basically, the sand replacement method is used for the determination of mass density of a sand, volume of excavated hole, and lastly, mass density of a soil. Here, this one is cone, also called as container. This is calibrated cylinder. This one is metal tray with the hole. So in sand replacement method, first we will going to see how to calculate mass density of a soil. See, the mass density of a soil is represented as rho s, that is equal to M1 minus M2 minus M3 divided by Vc. Vc is nothing but volume of a container. Volume of a container is nothing but area into its height. Okay. So first we will see how to calculate M1. M1 is nothing but the initial mass of a cylinder with sand. We will fill the calibrated cylinder with a sand and weighed it as M1. After that, M2 is nothing but mass of a sand in a cone. After that, M3 is nothing but mass of a cylinder after pouring the sand into the cone and the container, right? C. M3 is mass of a cylinder after pouring the sand into the container. Likewise, as you can see here, we will open the shutter of a calibrated cylinder. After that, the sand started to pour into the cone. After that, we measure the mass of a cone with the sand. Okay. Then VC is nothing but volume of a container. Likewise, we can find the mass density of a sand. After that, we will find the volume of a hole. So, volume of a hole represented as VH, that is equal to M1 minus M2 minus M4 divided by rho S. Okay. So, M1 is nothing but again the initial mass of a cylinder with sand. After finishing the first procedure, we will again fill the sand into the calibrated cylinder and weight it as M1. After that, M2 is nothing but mass of a sand in the cone only, and M4 is nothing but mass of a cylinder after pouring the sand into the hole. We will pour the sand into the hole and we will measure the mass of a cylinder, mass of a calibrated cylinder after the pouring as M4. So likewise, we can find the volume of a hole. So the bulk density will be mass of a soil divided by volume of a hole. Once we get the bulk density, we can easily find the dry density. Dry density will be bulk density divided by 1 plus water content. And we can find the water content with the help of one drying machine. Next index property is particle size. So the particle size analysis is basically a method of separation of a soil into the different fraction which is based on particle sizes. Okay. So the particle analysis basically is done into the two stages. First one is sieve analysis and the second one is sedimentation analysis. So the first analysis is meant for the coarse grained soils, whereas the sedimentation analysis is meant for the fine grained soils. The particle size, which is smaller than 0.2 micron, can be determined by an electron microscope or by X-ray technique. Basically, we divided the soil group into the two types, coarse grain soil and fine grain soil. In coarse grain soil, there are two types. First one is gravel and the sand. The particle size, which varies between 80 mm to 4.75 mm, considered as gravel, when the particle size varies between 4.7 mm to 0.075 mm, comes under the sand category. When the particle size is in between 0.05 mm to 0.02 mm, when it is considered as a silt. After that, if the particle size is less than 0.002 mm, then the soil is considered as clay, okay, which is represented as C. Basically, the grain size analysis is used for the size of a solid mass and their proportion in the soil mass. According to American Society of Testing Materials, we can differentiate between the coarse and fine grain by using the IS sieve number 200 having size 0.075 mm, and we can again differentiate between the gravel and the sand, which is by using sieve number 4 having size 4.7 mm. So the objective of particle size distribution is to determine the grain size analysis and to classify the various types of soils based on their sizes. So these are the calculations. We can find the cumulative weight retained, percentage retained, and the percentage passing. Okay. The cumulative weight of retained, that is equal to summation of a weight which is retained on the sieve and the upper sieve. Okay. Then the percentage retained will be weight of a soil which is retained on the sieve divided by the total sample weight into 100. Then the percentage which is passing, or we can say that the percentage finer than, that is equal to 100 minus cumulative percent retained. So basically, how to perform the sieve analysis? The procedure are as follows. The test sample is dried to a constant weight at a temperature of 110 plus 5 degree Celsius and weighed. The sample is then sieved by using a set of IS sieves. On the completion of a sieving, the material on each sieve should be weighted. Okay, the cumulative weight which is passing through the each sieve is calculated as a percentage of the total sample weight. Then the fineness modulus is obtained by adding the cumulative percentage of the soil which is retained on each sieve and dividing it by 100. This is the sieve analysis machine, which is mechanically operated, also called as a sieve shaker, and this is weighing machine. After the completion of a procedure, we wait, we find the mass of each sieve sample. This is the particle size distribution curve, in which particle size is represented on x-axis and the percentage finer, that is n%, represented on y-axis. D10 is nothing but the effective size. It means 10%. D10 means effective size. 10 D10 represent the 10 percentage of the particle are finer than this size, and 90 percentage of the particles are coarser than this size. Okay. So the uniformity coefficient, which is represented by Cu, that is equal to D60 by D10, and the coefficient of curvature represented as Cc, that is D30 square divided by D60 into D10. For a soil to be well graded, the following criteria must be satisfied. It means 1 should be less than coefficient of curvature, it should be less than 3, and coefficient of uniformity should be greater than 4 for gravels, and it should be greater than 6 for sand. If the soil fails in both the criteria, then only it is considered as poorly graded soil. The special cases of poorly graded soil are gap graded and uniformly graded. Next index property is consistency. The consistency of a fine grained soil is the physical state in which it exists. The water content at which the soil changes from one state to other are known as consistency limit or Atterberg limit. At the same water content, one soil may be relatively soft, whereas another soil may be hard. Thus, the consistency limit are very important property of fine grained soil. In this graph, in x-axis, there is water content, and in y-axis, there is volume. Okay. As the increases in the water content, the soil takes place into the different state. First is solid, after that semi-solid state, after that plastic state, last but not the least, as the increases in the water content, the soil ultimately reaches to liquid state. Okay. This is to determine the plastic and the liquid limit of a fine grained soil. The Atterberg limits are based on the moisture content of the soil. As the moisture content increases, the different stages occurred to a soil. Okay, the plastic limit, it is the moisture content that defines where the soil changes from semi-solid to a flexible, or we can say that the plastic state. The liquid limit is the moisture content that defines where the soil changes from a plastic to a viscous fluid state. This is the apparatus, also known as Casagrande apparatus, which is used to find the liquid limit of a soil. This is liquid limit device. This is soil specimen. This is called spatula. This is the grooving tool. And these are the moisture cans. Liquid limit definition. The water content at which a soil changes from a plastic consistency to a liquid consistency, which is defined by a laboratory test concept developed by Atterberg in 1911. Atterberg limits. The liquid limit represented as WL or LL, in which the clays flow like liquid when water content is greater than liquid limit. Okay. Then the plastic limit represented as WP or PL. This is the lower water content where the clay is still in plastic state. Shrinkage limit represented as WS or SL. At W is less than shrinkage limit, no volume reduction on drying. There is no volume reduction on the drying. Liquid limit test procedure is as follows. First, prepare the paste of a soil which is finer than 425 micron sieve. Then place the soil into a cup. This is the cup. We place the soil into the cup. Then cut groove in a soil paste with a standard grooving tool. We cut the soil sample with the help of a groove like this. After that, we rotate the cam and count the number of blows of a cup which is required to close the groove by ½ inch. We continuously rotate the handle, or we can say that we continuously rotate the cam and we count the blows which is required to close the ½ inch of the soil. Likewise, we will going to perform the liquid limit. Then the next one is plastic limit. The minimum water content at which a soil will just begin to crumble when it is rolled into a thread of approximately 3 mm in diameter. When the point is reached, when the thread is cracking and cannot be re-rolled to a 3 mm diameter, then we collect at least 6 gram and measure the water content of the soil sample. The test is repeated, taking a fresh soil sample each time. Then the plastic limit is taken as the average of 3 values. Next property is plasticity index. Plasticity index is the numerical difference between the liquid limit and the plastic limit. Plasticity index is nothing but liquid limit minus plastic limit. This represents the liquid limit for the different types. If the liquid limit is less than 35%, it means the soil is having low plasticity. If it is varies between 35 to 50, then intermediate plasticity. If it is 50 to 70, then high plasticity. If it is 70 to 90, then very high plasticity. If it is greater than 90% of liquid limit, then we can say that the soil is extremely high plasticity. Last but not the least, relative density, also called as density index or degree of denseness, which is used only for coarse grain soil. The relative density is generally used to indicate the in situ or on-site compactness of the coarse grain soil. It is defined by dr, that is equal to E max minus E divided by E max minus E minimum into 100, where this E max is nothing but maximum void ratio in loosest condition. E minimum is nothing but minimum void ratio in densest condition. Last, E is nothing but void ratio in natural condition. Likewise, we will going to find the relative density. The relative density of a soil gives the more clear idea about the denseness than does the void ratio. The two type of a sand having the same void ratio may have entirely different state of denseness, right? However, if the two sands have the same relative density, they usually behave in identical manner. So the relative density of a soil indicates how it would behave under the loads. If the deposit is dense, it can take very heavy load with a very little settlement. Okay, so depending upon the relative density, soils are generally divided into the five categories. Okay, so if the relative density is less than 15, we can say that the soil is in very loose condition. If it is 15 to 35, we can say that soil is in loose condition. If it is between 35 to 65, we can say that it is in medium dense. If it is 65 to 85, we can say that soil is in dense condition. If suppose the relative density is it is between 85 to 100, we can say that the soil is in very dense condition. Okay.